Okay, welcome for our second match of the week here in week two for March of the Machines League. We got Daniel G, who's making his first appearance in the feature match, but has already won two leagues in a very short time. So glad to have him here against Ryan D. Justin's going to be looking at it from his end. And he's a feature match veteran, we'll say. I think he's appeared in either the second or third most feature matches, and he's 8-3. So he's done well here. What's
Yes.
Ryan's hand looking like there?
Yeah, so Ryan's hand, very dependent on drawing a green source. Luckily, he has the Timberland Ancient. Those land cyclers do help a lot in these cases. He looks to be splashing Glissa, Herald of Predation. What a powerhouse this card is. Just
That's
kind of
right.
wins the game on its own.
Yeah, so Daniel has you wouldn't tell from the mulligan hand, but he's his mulligan hand is just all red and white cards and red and white lands, but he does have at least one blue card in his deck that was in his first hand that he mulligan, which was the Brutaclad, the teleport
Oh,
engineer.
yeah.
But right now he's just got a pretty solid hand here, and he's gonna have a nice turn here with SRAM into Core Halberd and to draw a card.
Oh, sweet.
So very nice turn that he's lined up here, especially with the mulligan. This helps big time. The rest of his hand is a mountain and a Sunder the Gateway, so he does need to draw some action. But I mean, we are seeing a card that appears in the Multiverse Legends slot that there's not a ton of support for, but if you even draw one card off this guy, you kind of got your money's worth here.
Okay, so Ryan has John Jungle Hollow for turn. Probably he's going to play the Forest so that he's able to play his Blade Burgeoning. Won't be able to play Nissa next turn unless Glissa next turn if he doesn't draw a untapped land. But he does have other options. He has Tandem Takedown. He has Doomscar Warrior. Uh, Opting to play the tap land and keep up Aerial Boost here.
Interesting that he didn't want to go for the development of his mana. Yeah, Glissa, Nissa, for all will be one anyway. So yeah, they're
Yeah.
both they're both gone to the Phyrexian side. Yeah, so Daniel's got a pretty straightforward turn. He's going to equip his SRAM, and looks like he's going to cast the card he drew for turn, which is Phyrexian Awakening. Uh, so
Okay.
basically, everything's going to have vigilance because both of his creatures now have vigilance. The Phyrexian will gain vigilance. He'll have a Sunder the Gateway to make another Phyrexian that'll have vigilance. So I hope Ryan's not holding any copies of Cut Short because they're going to be highly ineffective here.
Looks like he's just going to use the Tarkir Dunescaper. He's going to give it a bit of a boost, and he's going to take down the Saram here.
Yeah, Sram drew a card, so Daniel's probably not too sad.
Yeah, but in terms of the situation, Ryan's pretty happy with the situation. He was able to actually have his trick work out. Like if he gets blown out there, I don't think he's gonna be super far behind.
Yeah, so Daniel's left with very little of impact in hand here, just under the gateway and a land. He does have a 4/4 in play, but sounds like Ryan's gonna start dropping heavy hitters, at least one of them with Glissa.
Yeah, and at least next turn. But for now, he's just gonna play this rare, the Doomscar.
Oh, yeah,
We saw it last game.
that's a good one too. He's
Gonna
just
get in with the
gonna
Dude Shaper, draw a card.
yeah.
He probably will get smacked back for 5 because between the Phyrexian and the Core Halberd, his Doomscar Warrior is too small.
Yeah.
Does not find that land, but does find a Guardian of Ghirapur, another card that works well with this Doomscar
Okay.
Warrior.
Well, it doesn't work amazing because it does get blinked until your end step, so you won't get the.
Oh,
So
okay.
the backup counter will not be able to be used in combat on that turn.
I
But
see.
I mean, it's a 3/3 flyer for 3. Daniel's got a nice draw here, Fearless Scald, which pairs well with the Mirror Shield Hoplite, clearly.
Oh my god, it's gonna be so much damage.
So he's just deciding what he wants to do. Yeah. But that's a very good draw for him. Yeah, so like I mentioned, Daniel has already won two leagues in a very short time since he showed up. He's part of that the disc golf contingent that has been taking over our league over the past year or so. Four of the last six individual leagues have been won by a member of their crew, and they also placed second in the team league. So we're glad to have him here in the feature match. And he's going to take his time to decide what he wants to do. Like, Fearless Scald is a good draw, but he's figuring out if he wants to just play with what he has on board here to get in attacks.
Yeah, could potentially take it slow. You could animate his Phyrexian and equip the halberd to it, like I mentioned last turn, and then power that up next turn, or power
Yeah,
up his other creature next turn so that he gets two good attacks in.
yeah, he was. Yeah, I think he was thinking about doing that, like maybe just getting the Phyrexian token like really big, bigger than the 4/3. So he puts one counter on the hoplite. He's deciding if he wants to pow both counters or to give itself the counter. He's just gonna, yeah, he just has all sorts of good, good things going on here. Yeah, Mirror Shield Hoplite, when it goes off, it is backbreaking. Like it is completely game warping a lot of the time. Just that extra counter and the extra ability for the turn just changes everything.
Yeah, Ryan missing this land drop kind of hurts. He has the access to Tandem Takedown, which in this situation actively could blow away Daniel's board. He could kill off the double striker and like the Doomscar Warrior and the Dark Shaper, Dune Shaper would get extra power to tussle with the other creatures. But
Yeah,
we'll
I mean,
see.
he said he had Blighted Burgeoning. He might just opt for that so he can guaranteed have 5 mana next turn. Um, yeah, let's see how he proceeds. He is at
It looks like he's
11, so he can't. He needs to affect the board because
okay.
this
So it looks
double
like he's just
striker
gonna
is going to
fire off.
be. Yeah, the double striker is a little too dangerous to let him play, especially with the vigilance with the core halberd. It's just too much.
Okay, so he's actually gonna go on the offensive here. Uh, he probably wants to find that land. The Doomscar Warrior probably guarantees it with 5 cards.
Yeah, okay. He's just going to take the 8 here. He's going to let Ryan look at 5 cards to see what he can grab. Presumably
Okay,
a land.
yeah, he's found the land.
Yep.
Uh, he passed up on like a Sigiled Sentinel and Goreclaw, but now he gets to play his 2-drop, defends himself against some potentially dangerous damage.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like he kind of has what he needs in his hand. So he didn't, just take the land in order to cast stuff. Yes, Daniel's drawn a land here. He does have this 4/4 that he can get in with. So this is a good deal of attacking happening here.
Yeah, and like with the vigilance is very important here because Ryan can't just go like chump block and attack you back. He's like actually pressed into either taking the damage or chump blocking, and then his attacks aren't even that solid next turn.
I think with a Glissa in hand that can potentially swing it around, I could see a chump block here, yeah. And he just does. He
Yeah,
doesn't want to go to 3. It's a little too low. Especially against Boros, you never know. They could have haste. They could have more aerial boost, could have burn. Like, you know.
yeah, yeah. Probably gonna see him play defensive next turn. Gonna cast probably just like let that try take attempt to let that take over the game.
Yeah, like depending what colors your opponents are playing, you could go to 3 more comfortably, but not against red white, I don't think. So he's thinking about Sunder the Gateway if he wants to hold it or just make a 2/2. And with the opponent getting low, looks like he's just gonna make that 2/2 here. Yeah, he's like Sunder the Gateway. It's kind of it's not easy to find targets all the time. Usually it's like Realm Breaker's Grasp, Blighted Burgeoning, and like Stasis Field are like the commons that are usually that you see. There are targets for it, but a lot of time you just play it as a 2/2.
I'm mildly surprised to see he didn't put the halberd on his 4/4 to try and make it so like that Ryan doesn't have a good attack with the warrior. But
Yeah.
Ryan has drawn Storm the Seed Core. It is
Oh.
not lethal, but it would take some blockers, and his stuff would have vigilance.
Yeah, definitely not lethal. Like, Daniel has 10 toughness with which to defend himself, but it would be devastating here. That card just always, it's a lot. Like, we've seen a lot of cards like it that were not good, but this one just seems to have all the right numbers and words on it. The vigilance, the trample, 4 counters.
Okay, so he's gonna take the more proactive line. Put 2 counters on each. 3 can get trample. Uh, I see both 4/4s going in front.
Yeah, there's not been
Uh,
a, there's not been a lot of creatures being tapped this game.
it's true. Everything seems to have just gone vigilant in some
Yeah.
way or another.
It's overloaded on vigilance here, but yeah. So he's probably going to double block the 6/5, or at least seems
Yeah.
like he should. and then he won't have an attack back either.
Well, he will if he doesn't kill off the Phyrexian. But he notices that this Phyrexian can become a 5/5 if he puts the Halberd on it, so we'll just block that as to avoid the attacks being obvious.
I imagine Ryan will order the blockers appropriately. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. And now Daniel's in a bit of trouble here with Ryan with 4 cards in hand, but now we see Elspeth has shown up, which can end the game
Uh,
in short order here.
yeah,
He's 1 damage away from killing him with the Elspeth.
yeah. I can see the Elspeth coming down, just giving the hoplite flying because it's permanent. It's a permanent flying
Yeah,
counter.
yeah. It's thematic. Like for some reason they decided not to put a flying counter, but it just gains flying, which is very strange. I thought that's what ability counters were for.
That's
So
yeah,
you did not have
that's
to
very
track things like
strange.
this, but I guess Elspeth's
That's,
like, I don't deal with counters. I just get flying. Um, so we see Ryan at least at the very least has a blocker in hand, but that's not going to work in the long
yeah,
term.
the Tarkir Dune Shaper.
Plus,
It can it
I
can
believe he
transform.
can. Yeah, I believe he can just minus two. You can just -2 on the other creature. I imagine.
Yes, you can -2 on the other creature. The Tarkir Dune Shaper unfortunately will become only 7 power when it flips. So if it was 8 power, it would actually force from the Mirror Shield Hoplite. But then the 2/2 would have finished them off.
Yeah, this is the best Dune Shaper I've ever seen. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
the card's been okay, but ultimately, at least like in 40 cards, very cuttable. 60 cards, your threshold is lowered a bit for the cards that you want, but we're seeing it be a threat here, obviously, with all the counters piled up, which is again is what the white green decks do want to do, and Ryan
yeah.
has executed that as far as getting counters on creatures.
He plays Blade Burgeoning, probably gonna play Garden Gearper, and I guess is hoping that Daniel doesn't see that he can just -2 the other creature and have lethal.
Well, you don't win 2 leagues by not seeing those things, so I would guess we'll be wrapping the game up here. Yep. So Daniel instantly reaches for his planeswalker, especially since he drew a land. So, you know, he's just gonna get in the game with the flying here. So we see, the power of the planeswalker coming down here. Because honestly, it wasn't looking great for Daniel with Ryan having the cards in hand. So
Yeah, it just looks like any creature. Well, any creature with backup would have done virtually the same idea, essentially because of that hoplite. It would have gone over the 4/5. It would become big. But yeah, basically, there must have been like a lot of like stuff that would have put Daniel in a much rougher spot. Like any land, any creature backup, any like enchantment. Like let's say you drew another Sun to the game,
yeah.
but it happens sometimes.
Yeah, so Daniel's got a pretty straightforward red white deck with a couple of blue splashes. But like lots of 2 drops, lots of 3 drops. His blue cards are Brutaclad, the Telchor Engineer, which was spotted in his hand before he mulligan, and also
Yep.
Zurgo and Ojitai, which a Cloudblazer Index All Star, but also just a very very strong card as well. So very very impactful splashes here. But the rest of his deck is all red and white cards, so no not splashing for cheaper cards or lower impact cards. What's Ryan's deck looking like? I guess we saw white green with a splash of black.
Yeah, just examining the deck. Maybe just reflecting over the match, thinking he could something else. He's just currently panned over the field. He's just thinking what potentially my opponent could have, depending on like what his deck is. He saw the Elspeth. He saw like a very powerful card. He didn't see the blue splash, so I'm sure he'll be surprised if.
Yeah, like Daniel did not draw a blue source. He has 2 Swiftwater Cliffs, 2 islands. Does not appear to have anything else that fixes, no skittering survey or anything like that. So he just has to. He's hoping to draw them naturally. Red white is not going to have a lot of card filtering or digging to find it. He does have a couple things, but for the most part, he's just going to draw it. Have to draw it naturally.
Okay, so Ryan debating on putting in the Sunder the Gateway. He saw a decent amount of the Core Halberd. He saw even the Phyrexian Awakening giving Vigilance was something he probably found very annoying. Uh, he's putting in a Realmbreaker's Grasp.
Okay. I wonder why he wasn't
Uh,
playing it to start with. But
maybe it's just like an error as opposed to like deck modification. Sometimes you forget to add a card to your last pack.
yeah, I know people are down on pacifisms, like, like the streamers or content, like podcasters, are kind of down on these effects lately.
Yeah.
But, it's week 2 of League. If it's in your main color, you probably play it. Daniel did make one sideboarding change. He brought in, and it's in his opening hand, a Karsus Depth Guard, which is the 4/3 for 3. Sort of just,
Okay.
a nice beefy creature to stand in the way of things.
Okay. So Ryan had to mulligan to 6. His first hand was
Okay.
not operationable. He had one land and very expensive spells. And now this hand has a Glissa, which he can't currently cast, no black
Hmm.
mana, a Zalfrin Lancer, which is a good 3-drop, and a Cut Short, which you did mention last game would have been very ineffective. To see
Yeah.
that it's better this time.
Yeah, well, here comes the Bloodfeather Phoenix, and Dano's got some nice cards, Dan. He's got Dusk Legion Duelist, which is just the perfect creature that you want in your backup deck. The 2 mana 2/2
Oh, yeah.
rare.
Yeah.
Karsus Depth Guard, Fearless Scald. He's got Invasion of Mercadia, Core Halberd, and he's drawn a 4th land now, so he'll be able to cast pretty much everything. Yeah, he drew a Swiftwater Cliffs for next turn, so it looks like he's just going to cast his 4/3 here. And that defends itself even if Ryan has a knight. So nice call on bringing in just a beefy defender here against green white.
Yeah. Ryan has drawn quite an unfortunate card. He's drawn Elishnor. Without the second planes to play it, it's not. It's going to be sitting in his hand, kind of just, you know, unfortunate on the mana here. But
Yeah.
it does happen even with 2-color decks. Even if you're playing like 1-color deck, you still have mana variation. It happens.
I mean, like, let's say you're playing 25 lands in 2 colors and, like, your mana base is 13, 12. Like, that's still bad. like,
Yep.
like
It's
it's not
not. It's
like you
not
can,
great.
it's not like you can do anything to improve it if you don't have dual lands. But, like, that's just bad. Like, that, it's not good. Like, even 9/8 in, like, a draft deck or normal sealed 40 cards, like, 9/8 is bad. Especially if you have, like, double symbol cards of both your colors. So, and as soon as you introduce splashes, and as soon as we go up to 60 cards, it just gets worse and worse and worse. Um, which is why you the early weeks you need to have a consistent deck because
Yeah.
the mana fixing won't always show up. Right. So we have the cut short killing the phoenix.
Yep. Basically, just looking for a plains or a swamp. Finds the plains, can finally deploy Elishnorn. I don't know if Daniel has an answer to this card.
No, he doesn't have any removal at this time, so he's going to be looking at that for a while. He might be able. I mean, he might be able to attack through it, but I mean, he can actually play the core halberd and equip to this Karsus depth guard.
Yeah, that's very dangerous because this backside of Invasion of Arcadia is very strong. Makes
Yeah.
permanent tokens.
Oh
Yeah, it's just heroic reinforcements as you mentioned from the core set.
yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
like you make 2 tokens, gives all the creatures in play haste and +1 power.
Yeah, like normally at uncommon, when you see a card like this, you're like, oh, the tokens go away at the end of turn, right? Like,
Yeah,
nope, they
yeah,
just stay. Like, I think if that card said the tokens go away at end of turn, nobody would even think twice, and it would still be like good. But
yeah.
this is even better than it looks. Very very strong, and he just gets it here for free. So Elish Norton's gonna have to find some friends to block because Daniel can start going wide here if he wants to. He also has Brutaclad, which can
Okay.
which can upgrade the 1/1 tokens from the Flame Right into 2/1s.
They even upgrade them into like any token he wishes.
Yeah, I, would- I would
Maybe
not
not
I,
the
I would
incubator
not turn them
token.
into incubator tokens though. That would not be good.
No,
But you could turning the incubator token into a 2/1. Now that is very good.
yeah, the incubator token sitting there will become a 4/3.
Yeah, so some options here for turn. He has the Dusk Legion Duelist, Fearless Scald, Knight of the Coalition. He could play any of those. He also has Brutaclad, which he does not have the land for yet.
Okay.
I mean, if he wants, he could start activating the flame right, but I don't think he needs to just yet.
Yeah, the 2/1s aren't going to do anything, especially with these two 3 toughness and higher blockers. They just kind of stonewall them. You're discarding a card to do 6 damage essentially, which is still fine, but there's probably more optimal plays here.
Yeah, he gets in his attack. Looks like he's not going to be playing Fearless Scald because I assume he would have played it pre-combat, perhaps. But looks like he's going to play Dusk Legion Duelist and set up to possibly draw a card next turn with the Duelist by putting a counter on it. That might be his thought. He could spend the
Yeah,
turn, yeah, playing the Dusk Legion and then activating the Incubator token. So not putting out anything huge here. Okay, he's gone for the Knight of the Coalition rather.
it
Just
would be. The thing is, like, if this Elish Norn flips, it's going to be very hard for Daniel to win.
yeah, that is pretty devastating. But he still needs another creature and the mana.
Yeah,
So
but now he only needs a 3-drop, right? Because Elish Norn costs 3 to flip, and then he gets 5 2/2s, and
yeah,
then after that,
it's pretty devastating. And still no interaction here for Daniel. Just more bodies. Like he just has a bunch of bodies in his hand, but none of them are stopping this Elish Norn from doing its thing. And I mean, the Fearless Scald can come and get some attacks in.
yeah, putting on the Dark Karsus Depth Guard, this thing will be basically unmatched in combat. It probably prompts a chunk block because you don't want to take 12.
I would imagine you would not want to take 12 now. Yeah, and if this Elish Norn does flip, it will kill everything on Daniel's side because he doesn't actually have any Phyrexians.
Well, he does have time, right? Because he has 3. It's the third
Yeah,
chapter.
it takes a while. It takes a while. But yeah, they really ramped up the power on the backside of these Praetors. They just lost their minds. I think they just said, what's the craziest things we can do to pay people off for being able to flip these?"
Yeah. Uh, I will. I will say, Glissa and Elishnorn work well together.
Sure.
If if Ryan could flip Glissa, I play find the swamp for Glissa. The board state kind of becomes out of hand real soon
Who would have
because Glissa
thought?
will provide the fuel for Elishnorn.
Who would have thought two of the best cards in the set would play favorably together? Right. So
Yeah.
Daniel's sort of literally and figuratively fighting the good fight here against the pending Phyrexian invasion. Gets in the depth guard, gets in with the Knight of the Coalition. Obviously, he's happy to trade any of his creatures for any of Ryan's when presented the opportunity. So
Yep.
he he will be dealing some damage this turn, I imagine, because every time Ryan blocks, it makes the flipping of the Norn uh, less possible, which seems to be Ryan's way to win this game from this spot.
Yeah.
Unless
It's
he
just
has
like
like a
how much
board
damage
wipe.
do they feel like taking?
Yeah,
He's good.
well, he technically doesn't have to block here, but I imagine he wants to.
It looks like he's going to block at least this Death Guard with his Ancient.
Yeah, well, the depth guard is the only creature that can attack past Elish Norn here, so figures let's get it
Yeah.
off the board. I mean, the Fearless Scald can attack in, but he'll still be offering just a trade. Okay, so it looks like he's gonna chump block with this Gardening of Ghirapur, so he's kind of just I don't know if he has a Sunfall or something, but
You might just
he
be looking for the swamp because Glissa, I think, just probably wins the game here if you find a swamp. He found a plains instead, so
that looks
not
like
going to help me
it's
there.
gonna be rough here.
That looks like it just might be game on the game here.
Yeah, if he activates the Flame Right and plays another creature, he could play a creature and activate the Flame Right for because it'll give everything else you have haste.
Yep, and basically then it's a force block on the Fearless Skull, and that's like just on board. Uh, that's just a total of 11 damage
Yeah.
plus whatever the core Albert, so 12 damage.
So we see a bomb on one side, but we just see a bunch of good assertive cards on Daniel's side, being able to pull him ahead here, and obviously the lack of swamp to play Glissa, which can flood the board with bodies. None of these bodies are evasive, so as long as you have things to put in front of them, he could stay alive. but it's gonna have a tough time staying alive here.
So it looks like Daniel's gonna take it slow. Gonna make it either trade with my Fearless Skull, block my Knight,
Yeah,
and
I mean
take six.
he respects that there's a card in hand. He respects the fact that this could go bad if he decides to go all in. And he said, "Look, I'm ahead. I'm ahead on board. I'm ahead on life. I'm ahead on cards in hand.
Yep.
I don't need to take risks here." And he's going to use the. I haven't actually seen this done yet, but he's actually just going to use the Karen Flame Rate as a combat trick. But it also
Yeah.
deals two. It kills the Norn and it deals 2 extra damage with the Scald. So
Yeah.
the first time I've seen it used as just a combat trick and not to get in, but it's gonna wrap this up here almost
Yeah. The Knight
assuredly. Yeah,
comes. The Knight
these two
comes too
knights.
late.
Yeah, these two knights are not going to be able to stop this onslaught of creatures here. Here comes Brutaclad to just turn everything into 2/1s or two twos with
No, everything.
vigilance. Yeah, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
better. Yeah, all right. Well, uh, slight overkill, but we get a dramatic ending to the game. So, congratulations to Daniel in his first feature match, getting the win here over Ryan. So, thank you to both players, and we'll be back a little bit later for our third match of the evening.